All right, for this section we are going to talk about how to graph now, right? Drawing a parabola graph in this form. All right, here are the steps. The first step is doing what we did in the last section, which is finding the vertex. We're going to use negative b over 2a to find the x value. Once we find that, we will plug that into our x's here, plug that into a calculator, get our y. That will give us our vertex. We will plot that onto a graph. Then we will do a t-chart. We'll pick one point to the right, one point to the left of that vertex. That'll make sense when we do the problem. And then we're going to plot those points, and then we will draw the U-shaped graph through all of those points. I think it's just easier to get right into it, see an example of how it's done. All right, so first we have to find the vertex of this graph right here, the x squared minus 6x plus 9. So we are going to use a and b. Our a equals 1, and our b equals negative 6. So we're using negative b over 2a to figure out the x value of the vertex. Remember that. So we're going to go ahead and plug those values in. So b is negative 6, so I use negative and then parentheses negative 6. Anything you put in, substitute, get in the habit of using parentheses. It'll be helpful, especially when we get into start squaring the numbers and things like that. And then 2 times 1. Now remember the rule, negative 6 will be a positive 6. If you are still having problems with that, make sure you go ahead and access your calculator and type it in exactly as you see it. So you can say something like this. You can use this button right here. We have a negative parentheses negative 6. Then on the bottom, we're doing 2 times 1, which is just 2, but I'll just go ahead and put it in there. And that gives us 3. So I go back to here. My x value of the vertex equals 3. So remember, that's 3. And then now I have to find the y value of the vertex. So I'm going to take this 3, I'm going to plug it in to these problems. So I'm going to put 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 9. And again, at this point, all you have to do is plug that into your calculator. Go ahead and pause this here, plug it into your calculator, either on your computer or if you're using a different calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So parentheses 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 9. And that gives us 0. So we can type in 0 as our vertex. I'm going to leave this up here. I'm going to show you kind of a shortcut that we can do because this equation's going to stay the same. The only thing that's going to change is our input. So when I pick different numbers, I'm just going to have to replace those 3's, which is kind of a cool shortcut. All right, so now I'm going to go over here and I am going to draw my graph. This is my y-axis, my x-axis. And I'm going to plot this point. 3 for, remember, these are our x's and these are our y's. So 3 for our x and 0 for our y puts it right at this point right here. All right, so we essentially just did this first step. We found the vertex and we plotted it. Now we're going to find a point to the right and left. So I'm going to make a t-chart. And whatever my inputs and outputs are, that's what I'm going to find. So this is what I mean by picking a point to the left or to the right of the vertex. We want to have one on either side. We know this is positive, right? So that's going to be opening up. It's going to be a graph that's looking something like this going that way. Negative would be down. So we need to find a point to the left that we can draw this through and a point to the right that we can draw it through. Points to the left are anything less than this wherever the vertex is. So a 2, a 1, 0, negative, all that, right? Anything to the right would be greater than. I'd like to pick 0 if I ever have a chance to. So if I use 0 for my input, I just put 0 in for all of these. So I have 0 squared minus 6 times 0 plus 9. All right, what you'll find, this times that, that's 0, and then you add 9 would be 9 for our output. You can check that if you're not sure, but anytime you use 0, that's C which is that would be our answer. So I'm just going to go over here real quick. I'll show you. Put a 0, substitute a 0 for that, and you get your 9 as your answer. All right, so that's another point on the graph. So we would count up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My x is 0. My y is 9. So that would be a point that this graph is going to go through. So I would go down like this. That would be half of it. Now, if you remember your axis of symmetry, the rules with your axis of symmetry is where the graph is cut down the middle in half. So our axis of symmetry is our x value of the vertex. Okay, so this graph, we know half of it is a U-shaped graph that is going up this way. All right, the other half is going to go this way, but I want to locate a point that the graph is going through. Like here's one point that it's going through, here's another point that it's going through, so I need one to the right. Now, picking a point to the right, we could use 4, use 5, doesn't matter. But the axis of symmetry allows us, we're equal distance away from this, we know that it's going to be mirrored this, right? So you can see I am 1, 2, 3 points away. 1, 2, 3 points away here, I'm going to be equal distance away. This point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I put 6's in for these, my output should also be 9. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. So again, I'm using my same equation. I'm going to put 6 in for both of these, and my answer should then still be 9. So you can see that that works out. So just checking our answers there. If you are not using that skill with the axis of symmetry and you're just picking any number, maybe we pick 4. That's to the right. You can go ahead and plug that in to get your output. So let's go ahead and plug 4 in and see what that gives us. What I like about this calculator is you don't have to replug everything in, so you just kind of go back and forth. And you can do these probably on your calculator by going back as well. You can see when we put in 4, our output is 1. So we got 1 here. So if I plot that point, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 1, we just have to make sure that our graph goes through that point as well. So I'm going to draw this half of the graph going through those points. And that is what the graph would look like of x squared minus 6x plus 9. We have our vertex down here. This is our axis of symmetry. And it's going through a point on the left, a point on the right. And those are the main things that I'm looking for to see if you understand this concept. Let's go ahead and practice one more. Again, we're going to start with finding our vertex. So identify your A and your B. Pause this as we go. Try to do it on your own. If you get stuck, go ahead and watch the video. So our A in this case is -1, because that negative's there. Our B is +4. And remember, we're using our equation, -b over 2a. So 2 times a. So I am going to use -4 over 2 times -1. All right, if you type this into your calculator, this comes out to -4 over -2. -4 divided by -2 gives us +2. So my x value equals 2. That is my x value of the vertex. Now I need to plug in 2 to get my y value of the vertex. So essentially what I'm going to plug in here, we'll change color for step 2, negative parentheses 2 squared plus 4 parentheses 2 minus 4. All right, I'm going to go back to the calculator and plug that in because I'm going to have to use that again, so I might as well get it in there so I don't have to retype everything. So we have that negative and then parentheses 2 squared plus 4 parentheses 2 minus 4, and that gives us 0. So 0 is our y value. All right, so I'm going to draw my graph, and this is the vertex. Remember, it's the max or min of a graph. You notice that this is a negative, so actually we know our graph is going to be going this way. So as we do that, our points should align with that. So I'm going to plot 2 and 0 on my graph. So 2 for the x, 0 for the y. There is my starting point. Now I need to do my t-chart and figure out point to the left, point to the right. Again, points to the left, if I can use 0, I always like to use 0. You put in zeros for these, your output is always C. So it's -4, right? So I go back to here, let's just double check. So if I put in zeros, and you can see I get -4, so that checks out. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that point. When x is 0, y is -4. 1, 2, 3, 4 going down. So I put that point. Let's say I forget axis of symmetry, right? Oh no, I don't understand axis of symmetry. I forgot about it. So I'm just going to pick one point to the right. 1, 2, 3. 3 is to the right of 2. So I'm going to put 3 in there. All right? So I'm going to type in 3 to my calculator because I needed output. So again, I'm using the exact same formula. 3, put that in again, and I get -1 as my output. -1. All right, so if I do 3, I go down to -1. Here's my point. Remember, this is your vertex, so now all we have to do is draw that U-shaped graph through the point that they give us. And that is how you graph it. So remember those steps. You're finding your vertex first, making sure that you get your x value, plug it in, get your y value, plot the point, make a t-chart, pick 2 points for your x, one to the left, one to the right, plug it back into here, and plot those points, draw the graph.